Already, next up we have Dmitry Lahunouski with his highly anticipated talk, Why You Still Can't Buy Coffee with Crypto. If you ever wondered why crypto isn't yet part of your daily transactions, this is a session you don't want to miss. And let's give a warm welcome to Dmitry. Hey, Dima.
Hi, Farooq. Hi everyone. I picked a quite interesting topic because I was digging into it quite a lot. Um, yeah, Let me just quickly share some small presentation so we can start. Basically, I think people, especially people who follow crypto space maybe since 2017, so even earlier, they remember these promises about, hey, soon we're gonna be able to pay with crypto everywhere. You can buy a coffee with it, but it looks like it's still not a reality. So I tried to summarize all my knowledge about why it still hasn't happened. Um, but before that, I want just to do a small step back and ask and answer the question, actually, why is that actually important? And I think the simplest way to explain this is just to demonstrate how currently, for example, the payment with a Visa works. Yeah, you see, it's quite a complicated system with a lot of intermediaries. Most of them basically also custodial intermediaries, so they taking risks, they taking fee for these risks, and quite annoying, especially for merchant when you need to pay huge fees for that and wait when your bills settled on your personal account within like 1-2 days, or even more when you're trying to sell goods during the weekends. Yeah. On the other hand, we have like I just draw this very simple diagram because it like the purpose of this diagram is just to highlight the simplicity of the blockchain payment. Yeah, on the very basic level, just you authenticate transaction with your private keys. Then you send this transaction to the blockchain. You have a real-time processing and settlement, so merchant can almost immediately, receive the funds from the user and be sure that these funds belongs to him and he can already also spend it. Yeah. So, but despite of this simplicity, like looks on the first look, we still struggle to integrate this system into our everyday life. Yeah. So I wanted to summarize kind of the requirements that usually merchants or even like user wants to have to be able to pay with crypto. Most of these requirements comes from our just daily user experience, how we used to pay, what we do expect from the payment providers. Yeah, so I put here maybe the most for the most important things. The one is obviously throughput and peak handling. Yeah, so we as a users we expect that we can pay in a seconds in whatever day we want. Yeah, for the merchant is also important is a finality, at least a couple of days, but still you want to have the guarantee that the transaction that are confirmed by POS, for example, is going to be settled and you hold this money. Yeah, so you can give the goods or whatever you're selling back to the buyer immediately. Yeah, and the third one is cost stability. Because initially, when Bitcoin appears and we didn't have a lot of crypto, one of the drawbacks of the payments with Bitcoin was the price instability. The fluctuation is very high, and the fluctuation of the price can happen within seconds. So it's not acceptable for merchant. If you want to sell something, you would like to expect some, I would say, predictable revenue. It's important for your business planning. So you cannot rely on something that's really volatile relatively to other other services or goods. Yeah, so the cost stability was very important. And another, like the fourth, is basically that was probably achieved by the crypto immediately. I mean, for at least from the Bitcoin side, is the reliability and resilience. It's you expecting to have a 99.999% of reliability. So you don't want to accept the payments as a merchant through the systems that do not work often, or that risks to kind of lose your money. Yeah. So let's kind of compare the performance reality check. Let's do a performance reality check. Yeah. So what we currently have, I just put three the most popular cryptocurrencies. Obviously, they have a lot of extensions, features that are not represented here. But anyway, it gives the comparison of what we can expect currently when we use for example, Visa as a payment network, or we use a Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Solana. Yeah. So you see that regarding the through output, we are not even close to the possibilities of Visa. This through output is basically not something that Visa handles every day, but at some, for example, during some events, users can transact a lot. So our system needs to be able to handle this smoothly. And we obviously existing layer one blockchains do not handle even close amount of this transaction per second. Yeah, finality also is quite important. Here is finality meaning kind of a soft confirmation when the merchant and user receives a feedback that the payment is processed, and the kind of the possibility of the payment is not going to be processed is like below meaningless values, such like 0.000%. Yeah. So for Visa, you just, for example, use your card or smartphone, and you immediately getting back a feedback. In a Bitcoin, you usually have to wait like around an hour, just because you cannot even rely on one block confirmation. You need to wait for a couple of block confirmation based on how the hash rate Bitcoin works. And on Ethereum and on Solana, the finality is faster, but it's still not comparable to Visa. And the last thing I think also that we can compare here and highlight is the cost of transaction. Yeah, for Visa, I put here as a static value, not a percentage, because my topic was about buying the coffee. It's basically how much dollars usually merchant gives back to all intermediaries when you just buy a one coffee. It's quite high relatively. For example, the coffee price like $3, but yeah, it's still bearable for them. Yeah. And what is important that usually the percentage is fixed. You have an agreement with Acquire Bank, and it means that you can also predict these costs and put it into your business planning. While if we talk about Bitcoin or Ethereum, the costs are very unpredictable and based on a lot of factors. One of the main factors is a network congestion. So when network is very busy, there are a lot of transactions that are pending. The cost of the transaction might be significantly high, like 10 times, 50 times more. In a Solana, these are usually not the case. But anyway, during, for example, NFT minting, it still might be the case when even on Solana, the your transaction not cost a lot, but still pending in the kind of local pool. So it's not processing, and the finality increases significantly, or you can even have a cancellations of your transaction. So you will need to resubmit it once and once again. So it's still kind of it's not cost related, but the user experience related to this cost fix is, I would say, not ideally designed for now. What are the technical roadblocks? Basically, what do we need to do? What do we need to achieve to make crypto usable for daily payments? And this is just a pure technical roadblock. So we are not touching any social or legislation or economical parts of this question. So from technical perspective, we just want to have a reliable networks that do not halt. It means that, for example, we currently have a very reliable but very slow networks like a Bitcoin or Ethereum. We can have a less reliable network which is faster, like a Solana, or we can even have a very fast also network which just have a one point of failure, like L2 networks on top of Ethereum that usually operates just with one sequencer. So it means like if sequencers either pause or censor your transaction, you can enforce it at some point via L1 layer, but it's still kind of it still might block you to properly use this network. Another big challenge, technical challenge for crypto space is a fragmentation. Yeah, we already have a lot of chains, and creating kind of a wrapped solutions to just roll out your own chain makes it even worse. So as a merchant, for example, I don't want to care about receiving payments from, like 15 chains. Yeah, what I would like is just to accept, for example, USDC on my wallet, which is hosted, for example, on Ethereum, yeah, or on Solana. But I would love to accept payments from everyone. So if somebody hosts his funds on other chain, I would like to be able to get these tokens on my chain. Yeah. So the fragmentation is a huge user experience problem. It also introduces additional technical problems such as trust minimized bridges that are not trustless and usually got hacked. So you can lose your money during transaction or even lose all your funds. It also introduced additional latency, additional intermediaries. So we're kind of making the whole system is much more complicated, and our system becomes looking like the Visa, but with less guarantees and worse user experience. Yeah, but still, this is an ongoing process. So we and the crypto developers trying to improve it. Everyone trying to. Every day there is any startup appears that trying to solve this. But yeah, this is currently a roadblock. Fee volatility is also a big headache, as I already told, for merchants. So basically relying on currently, if fee is meaningless, until a fee is meaningless, like below, I don't know, $0.0001 per any transaction, it might affect the merchant operations. So the solution here is either to lower fees for a very low amount or make them predictable or even better constant. Yeah. Another on top of that, when we even if we have all of these previous roadblocks solved, we still struggling to have one of the most important is the scalability. The system still not able to handle 65,000 transactions per second. And the problem is that scaling blockchains, if you want to keep the decentralization and security on a high level, it means the chain should have a lot of nodes that operates. It introduces a latency problem. So we need to synchronize thousands of servers that are distributed among the whole world. And another issue is, even if we solve this problem, there are also a storage block problem when if even we calculate that the transaction, for example, takes, I don't know, 32 bytes, it's still, if we multiply it to 65,000 transactions per second, it means that during the year, the storage will increase significantly. Even now, Ethereum, for example, as far as I remember, the full node for Ethereum will need to store like around 2 terabytes, but we only have 7 transactions per second. Yeah, just imagine how many terabytes needed for node to store all the data. This all leads us to this consensus triangle problem, where we should kind of balance speed, security, and decentralization in order to achieve the best user experience, while trying as much as possible to provide the service to be decentralized and security, to keep system simple, as I already described in the previous slide, when you just send a transaction and the merchant receive the funds in real time. This is a technical roadblocks. Yeah, most of them are solvable. Most of them are either partially solved or will be solved soon. And we will talk about it a bit later. But there are also legal and economic roadblocks that also complicates the innovation. It also complicates the crypto integration with existing payment infrastructure. Yeah. And even if we solve all technical roadblocks, they might be not interoperable with existing laws. They're not interoperable with existing infrastructure. So it's another huge challenge for crypto and the whole ecosystem to overcome these, to work with regulators, to kind of educate the regulators about the nuances of the decentralized system. I just picked a few important parts here. For example, the privacy versus compliance. I think the audience might know that currently we have privacy crypto like Monero or Zcash, or we can even do a private transaction on Ethereum using zero knowledge pools like Tornado Cash, ZK pools, or Railgun. But it's the problem with the DK solution is that it completely removes traceability. It also increases the transaction cost and slows down them significantly. So, but regulators usually demand a full traceability. They want to see to whom you pay and for whom you receive the funds. Even introducing the KYC and AML policy for on-ramp and off-ramp functionality, like when you change your crypto for fiat, do not solve this problem completely, because AML policy, for example, requires you at some point to disclose the source of funds. If you receive these funds from either ZK pool or just an anonymous wallet, it's hard to prove what the source of funds, especially cryptographically. Yeah, if you receive the funds on the public blockchain, you can obviously at least show the traceability. But if you receive funds in such a cryptocurrencies like Monero or using ZK pools, you even cannot prove to the regulators from whom you received these payments. This makes the compliance very complicated, and these blocks basically even just the normal businesses to even start accepting crypto in a non-custodial way. because they're just afraid that they won't be able to use these funds later. We also have a regulatory flux, that rules changing very often. They are still unclear. So there is no country in the world where you can kind of rely on some crypto regulation rules and be sure that they're not going to be changed within 2 years or 3 years. It's a development, it's ongoing development. So, and obviously regulators doing the mistakes, they constantly involving with the crypto community. This uncertainty adds additional risk, not only on the crypto players, but on the merchant side, also on the developers. So, and operating in a huge volume business in such a high risk environment, just meaningless for now. So that's why I think it's one of the main points why current even like banks, for example, do not settle their internal transaction between each other in stable coins. Yeah. Stablecoin jurisdiction, just a part of this regulatory flux. We see the improvements here. There are a lot of steps forward for regulate stablecoins, but still, even in some countries, there is no differentiation, for example, between decentralized stablecoins like DAI or algorithmic stablecoins, or like centralized fiat-backed stablecoins like USDC. So until there is a clear rules how you can utilize them, how related, a kind of it's not possible for merchants to use these tokens as a primary payment. Volatility risk is another kind of illegal issue, because if you accept tokens that are highly volatile, usually they are considered as not as a currency, but and it means that you need to pay a capital gain tax on it. Yeah, and just imagine you're a merchant who accepts payments in Ethereum. Yeah, and then at the very end of the year, you have to check all your transactions, calculate for every transaction how much Ethereum cost at this moment in, for example, local currency. Then you have to sell and pay additionally capital gain, which is quite high in a lot of at least European countries. I basically live in the UK. It's 20% here. It's quite high, so nobody wants to pay this, and nobody pay these high additional taxes. So user will try to back to the accepting either stable coins or just using fiat rails, payment rails. So and another kind of a barriers that we have is a social. Yeah. But most of them are coming from the technical or from legal or economical barriers. Yeah. So one of the things is the trust. Despite the blockchains are kind of trustless, where you don't need to trust your counterparty for accepting transaction, on the psychological level, people still operate with trust. So even if you, for example, have a very fancy idea about how to process payments using a blockchain, you will need to to develop and to educate merchants so they can gain a trust in your system, and only after that they will accept this as a payment solution. And media perception is also one of the social barriers, because crypto, since it's an open system, there are a lot of good and bad happening at the same time in the crypto, but people usually focus on some bad things, like, for example, hackers stole some money, or one more centralized exchange closed, but all of this is associated with crypto as a whole technology. So most of the developers, not developers, I would say, even most of the crypto enthusiasts, they face this kind of media perception that you are part of some shady world that just exists for money laundering and nothing else, and for scamming people. We also have a user experience problem from the social perspective, because holding the seed phrase from your personal account might be good for the self-custody, but it also introduces additional user experience problem, such as a recovery. Imagine you hold 100 Bitcoins. It's an enormous amount of money right now. And then you suddenly, I don't know, just die, or you just forget your private key, so you just lost it. So in using a banking system, you can easily recover those funds. Not easily probably, but still there is a way to do it. The user experience about recoverability is, I would say, currently in the middle of development. There are a lot of startups who is dealing with it, but it's still not well developed and established. Yeah. So, and the last thing is a chicken and egg problem. I think for merchants and for users, there is a chicken and egg problem that merchant doesn't want to accept crypto payments until he knows that he can accept that everyone can pay with it. Yeah, and the same for users. If you cannot pay with crypto everywhere, that's a problem, because you're not going to use it, even if it's better than just using Visa. So there is a solutions currently that helps us. It's a roll-up scaling and high-performance validator solution on the Solana Fire Dancer. So I think we will break a lot of technical roadblocks within next 1-2 years. And we also will break some social roadblocks, like smart account recovery. There is a bills that introduces that regulates stablecoin. Stablecoins become like a programmable default money rails. So anyway, until despite a lot of roadblocks, the future looks bright for the crypto. I just post like a very short vision about how, at least from my perspective, it looks like that in the nearest years, I think the transaction and throughput problem will be solved completely. So I'm expecting that virtual payment services start using stable coins as a settlement layer by default. So we see the movement, for example, from Revolut, from Stripe, who acquires recently 2 startups. So it looks like a lot of the I would say fintech companies, classical fintech companies, are looking into USDC settlements, stablecoin settlements. PayPal uses his own stablecoin for that. So I think it will become as a default settlement layer, because it reduces a lot of headaches that currently payment system has. Hopefully, I put it here 2027, and I don't know where, but there is a lot of development regarding ZK attestation that replaces KYC and AML. So you don't need to disclose the whole information about yourself, but a very tiny zero knowledge proof that you, for example, allowed to do this transaction. So it might significantly increase user experience and safety of the crypto payments, while still preserve privacy. That is a quite important topic in crypto. So yeah, looking forward for the ecosystem. It was a talk about the problems, existing problems in crypto payments. Thank you for your attention. Hopefully it was useful for you.
It definitely was, Dima. Thank you. We've got some questions for you to answer. Want to take a look at them?
Yeah. Yes, I think it could definitely match and even overcome these uptime. It's not something that that is not doable. Even for now, there are kind of a local tests about even EVM handling 100,000 transactions. There was a lot of developments, improvements in the how we store the data, the transaction data in the blockchain, because by default in the Bitcoin you store everything in the Merkle tree. Yeah. So, but there are improvements about Merkle trees, like Verso Merkle trees and others improvements, specific database for Merkle trees. So the through output and the execution speed improves significantly. So yes, I think it's very doable. How does Solana claim 1000 TPS hold up under real-world conditions during network congestion and spam attacks? Solana infrastructure is very, I would say, innovative and interesting approach how to deal with the blockchains. They have a quite different approach how they manage user accounts. They have this parallelization. It means your in a EVM, all the transactions are atomic. If you, for example, send your tokens to smart contract, and then the smart contract do something with your tokens, and then send it back, I don't know, to POP. Yeah, this whole transaction is atomic. It means if something fails in the middle, the whole transaction fails, and it's absolutely synchronous. Yeah, in the Solana, the approach is different. If you deal with, for example, some stablecoin, it has a separate accounting system, and Solana can perform the changes of the accounts in isolated way, yeah, like asynchronously as a separate, I would say, like a thread, yeah, like a separate process. So it allows Solana have a unique features, how, for example, to process transactions in parallel, which is not interconnected. And it also allows Solana to have local markets for these transactions. So even in the network congestion, for example, you have a big pool of transaction waiting for swaps, but there are other transactions waiting just for transfer money. So since they're isolated, the processing and verification of the day of the transaction for transactions for simple transactions will be faster. So they'll get processed faster and cheaper. While the swaps will have their local market and prioritization according to the fee. So I would recommend definitely to dig into Solana approach, how they achieve such a huge throughput, still having, like, as far as I know, currently more than 200 validators in Solana. I mean, big validators. So yeah, it's pretty impressive job.
We've got the last one here.
Do you have any comparison of electricity used to modern city emission to make a single transaction in Visa and blockchain? Are they significant? So it's a quite holy war topic about the electricity that's used for anything. We can start like philosophical question even about the cost of electricity and how much electricity as a society we're using. For example, we do not use even less than 0.01% from solar energy that we can build and use here. Yeah, but answering your question directly, blockchains are different. There is a proof of work blockchains, proof of stake. For proof of work, obviously the electricity, it's very electricity expensive, but it kind of compete with other electricity usage. So if we, for example, imagine some country, there is Bitcoiner miners and there is a factory that produces some tools. Yeah, if the production of the tools is more profitable than mining and processing transactions, then people will produce the tools. If the transaction is more profitable, then people will switch to the transaction. And the cost of the electricity changes within your daily usage. We have a spikes in the electricity usage, or we have a night when nobody uses except probably factories. So you can even, for example, use your electricity in different time differently. Regarding the, for example, regarding the, so I think it's a very good example for Ethereum, since Ethereum have like around 9,000 nodes right now. So it's still quite intensive for electricity usage comparing to banking system, I think. But you still also need to understand that the banking system, especially digital bankings, are also electricity expensive because they also need to operate a lot of like just services to, for example, handle the QC and ML, or for example, validating your accounts and all this stuff. But I think it's I actually don't I have never developed such a deeply banking payment system. I just developed some payments system in the blockchain. But my imagination that the banking is more effective because obviously they are centralized. Yeah. So something that's centralized will be always more effective in consumption of resources. The question should be is do what are we getting back from that? Yeah, what are we getting back from having systems centralized or decentralized? And I think for payments, having decentralized system is much more important than having more efficient centralized. But this is another philosophical talk about it. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for your question, guys.
All right.
Enjoy.
Yes, guys, thank you for your participation at Dmitry's session. That was truly an eye-opening dive into challenges holding us from crypto payments. Well, thank you. Some truly crucial insights for anyone working in this space and I mean living in this world facing crypto. And yeah, it was a pleasure having you here, Dmitry. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.